So we're here with Jeremy Swift, who plays Leslie Higgins on Apple TV Plus's Ted Lasso. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolute pleasure, Nick.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, it's towards the end of the week. Actually, I've got one more filming day tomorrow, which are a bunch of scenes, which I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, still looking forward to the weekend.
As we all are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're almost finished wrapping on season 2, right? Is this like the last little push?
Yeah, we're in the last. Where are we? The last 3 weeks of the shoot. Yeah, and it's been we've got a couple more episodes this season. So yeah, and they've given us a bit more time, and per app as well, which is great. So we can really get to it. Yeah.
So we get to see a little more of Higgins, I hope, too, which we'll break down here. I think what I like most about Higgins is that he breaks this assistant stereotype. I think maybe in older shows or, the stereotype of him he could have been more in the background, but I think he's such an integral character and he plays off really well with Rebecca. So I guess we could start with that relationship between you and...
Well, yeah. Just to your point about that, yeah, I think in many other shows, you could have mined stuff out of it staying the same and just kind of like how he is in the first 2-3 eps. But the journey is the fact that everybody's got an arc in this show is something that people have really enjoyed, and watching it 2 or 3 times, you subsequently there are things that impact on you, and one of them being how the stories are planted. So I think everybody's really enjoying that. It's unusual for a comedy to be, to work on a number of watchings. But yes, the relationship with Rebecca is pretty dysfunctional initially, and Ted, as he does with everybody, sort of waves his magic wand and gets the better sort of nature out of everybody and the better consequence, and that's what happens with Higgins and Rebecca, because Higgins is really terrible at being a spy or just undermining people. It just doesn't come in any way naturally to him. So she's asking him to do the impossible, really, and Ted gets him to do the more positive stuff and draws him into his world of positivity. So that changes the dynamic. In the first season, it becomes something completely different. From Ep 1 to Ep 10, they're in a completely different place. And working with Hannah is a delight, of course.
And playing off of that, I know through your career, you've been in huge blockbuster hits recently. You've done TV, but you started in theater on the stage, and I know Hannah did as well. So did that, I guess, versatility of these different platforms that you've worked on together, I guess, did that have an impact on the relationship?
I think so, because a lot of people in comedy come from the stand-up world or from the writing world, and you sort of recognize somebody who's been around the block and, as you say, done many different sorts. The platforms that there are for actors, 4 of them or whatever it is. So I think, there was a bit of a shorthand with us, when it coming to do scenes, and an ease between us, which is just so enjoyable. Just a delight to play alongside. She's just fabulous.
And early on we get a little foreshadowing when Higgins goes, "Oh, I could never tell you to f off," but he later does, and he snaps back at
He does, yeah.
Rebecca. He quits. He goes home. He's playing. I think he's playing a double bass, and he's got this fine goatee going on. So he's grown into his own. He's kind of become more independent and learned from his experiences of pre-Rebecca owning the club, and now he's kind of understanding his own self. So I guess in that growth, that personal growth, will we see more of this going on into the future? If you want to expand on any of that, go ahead.
Well, there is somebody holding a shotgun off camera to my head, if I should mention season 2, and I have to listen. But yeah, there is, well, in so much as there was in season 1, there was expansion and growth and surprises. There will be that in season 2, and for everybody, I think, and we just have to hope that the well, I'm pretty sure that the standard hasn't dropped. In fact, it's pretty much risen, and I think the show is going to be as as lovable and inspiring, hopefully, as it was. As you just grow to know all the characters, and it's an increasingly populated show. There are lots of characters who are amazing, and lots of amazing actors. So yeah, there's tons to look forward to in season 2.
And I love that you brought your own musical elements from your personal life into the show. I did find your album, Everything's a Joke, and you play the piano and all sorts of things. So I really hope we get to see more of that with Higgins too.
Well, the bass thing was just came about because Jason and I think we were just going out to lunch, I think, and he said, I said, "What's going to happen when he leaves?" And he said, "Oh, he's I think I joked something about him, like maybe he could grow a sort of Rasputin length beard, and be a nomad or something." And Jason, of course, finessed as Jason does, said, "Well, it could be a jazz beard." And I went, "Oh, well, because I do like jazz and I play the bass." So, and he said, with scrutiny, "In an amateur way?" Or I said, "Well, it's quite good. It's all right, So that's how I ended up playing in the show. But it was a very sweet idea, and again, as is the show's wont, a very expected turn, So that's how that came to be. But whether I'll get to do any other things, man with the gun.
We'll see. Okay. That's awesome. And is it true your real wife plays your TV wife as well?
Absolutely, yeah. She's in the kitchen now, quite rightly so. Actually, dealing with our lovely grandson. Yes. Bill Lawrence came up to me and asked me if I got on with my wife in a working way, and I said, "Yeah." We have worked together, before, and it's because. And he said, "Well, we'd like her to play your wife." And I didn't know that I even was going to have a wife in it, And I went, "Oh, wow." So that was very sweet. And Mary had been in for a couple of, I think she'd been in for, the lady who bids for Jamie Tart in episode 4, who is called Old Lady in the script. And I was like, I know we're both old.
Oh, no.
But not quite, So she'd been, but they had liked her for things, but didn't think she was quite right. But yeah, it's very sweet.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see little snippets of them, when they see Ted hit his head in an early episode. So we get little bits and pieces of Higgins's family, which I think is really cute. And then finally his fifth son at the very end.
Yeah. And of course, it just to see how many kids he's got in that, in the car, all waiting to go to school, is kind of like tells a story immediately. It's a great idea from the writers. It's just like, that's where he's coming from. He's got all these kids. He's got all these kids to look after. So it's again just great writing, great story plotting, brilliant stuff from the writers.
In the first episode, when Higgins finds out what Rebecca's gonna end up trying to do to Ted in, bringing him on as a coach to ruin the team, to get back at her ex-husband, Higgins says, "Such a nice fellow," about Ted. "I'm not sure if I can do this." Do you think he said that because he sees Ted in himself, or was there another reason?
No, I think he recognizes goodness. I think Higgins, and he has a lot of patience combined with fear, which stops him going to confrontational places, I think. But I think, well, I think Ted's, positivity is just so magnetic and so winning. I mean, he can't help but be, just totally galvanized by that, and also, but it is a kind of pressure thing that, how can I do this when he's so, this isn't like the other guy with the beard who was a misogynist. This is somebody who's really, really nice and fun, so it's a big ask, as well as being horrible, it's difficult to do. Which is why he ends up, of course, gagging throughout the because he's got all this kind of stuff that he can't talk about, and it just comes out as a kind of, almost vomit.
Well, I love everything that Higgins brings, everything that you bring to the character, the comedy. There's so many different levels to all of the characters, but I mean, even Higgins, and I can't wait to see where he goes in season 2, and if he rises more, and how all these relationships continue and develop. So thank you so much for being with us today, Jeremy. Good luck to season 2 and season 3 and everything else, all the music too.
Oh, bless you. And thank you for listening to the album or checking it out. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
There is a second one. Hopefully it will be out this year. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.